Hello everyone, I'm Sudeepthi Dondapati. I'm here today with you to discuss adding idioms for meaningful communication. In this presentation, we will be looking at the significance of idioms and also how you can really use them in your communication skills. Earlier, in the previous sessions, we saw to that we've learned all the phrasal verbs, important phrasal verbs, and that are required for your necessary sense that you are trying to create in the minds of the listeners or your target listeners. So till now, we looked at the significance of phrasal verbs, and there's a question hailed or raised or a query pointed out by one of the linguists in the English language society. Like they said that he says that, so why do we have to use phrasal verbs? So in that sense, why do we have to phrasal verbs? They're very colloquial and I mean to say very informal in some situations, but not all the time. So now we will be looking at idioms. You can mix up all these phrasal verbs and idioms. So you can really produce a meaningful conversation when you are with your friend. But at the same time, you can convey an excellent message if you are trying to use all these idioms as well as phrasal verbs for your target message. So now to the question raised by that scholar, I would say that yes, definitely you can say that you can produce a meaningful conversation without them, but at the same time, if you add these phrasal verbs and idiomatic expressions, you can definitely bring out a very wonderful conversation. So now I'm going to present before you the topic that I have for you. So we will look at all the key points, all the important contexts where you can really use them, and that will be very much useful in your day-to-day conversation. Right. Now, idioms are what actually? So idioms or idiomatic expressions, so you can really use them for your for your very like if you want to create a very meaningful conversation. Not only that, if you want to convey that you know good chunks of language or good amount of language in your in your context, so that definitely your HR or your manager or your boss or your interviewer, whoever is looking at you or whoever is listening to you, definitely you can convey this impression that. And especially the students who are preparing for placements. So for them, that will be very greatly used. So now what are these? Idioms are expressions whose meanings are different from the words that make them. So are they different from the words that make them? So what are they? So if they are different from the words that make them, then how can you really understand the sense of it? So they are different from the sense that words you make or like you use, in the sense they don't mean exactly what you say it aloud. So they have another connotation there. So this difference in the connotation will definitely make a kind of like success when you're conversing with each other. So you are not going to take literal meaning there. You are going to pick and choose, or you are trying to totally convey the meaning that you intend in your mind by using the words that are already there. All right. So what is that? Understanding an idiom requires some other knowledge than knowing the words used. So what do I mean by knowing the language, the words, or knowing the words that are used? So you have to have this knowledge. And not only that, the knowledge that you require, but also the words, you have to be very much aware of that, right? So not only the meaning of the mere words, but also the knowledge of the words or the knowledge of the context that are used, right? So for that reason, you have to have a shared understanding of the word that is used in the context. So you have to understand the situation you can really build in, and then you cannot simply use it for creating some kind of impression on the minds of the listeners. So understand the context first and then continue it. Right. Next, idioms normally cannot be modified. Idioms cannot be normally modified or the words within them changed. So you cannot alter at the same time. You have to understand, you have to know it by heart. And not only that, simple memorization will be helpful to you, but also understanding its sense, understanding the context. So you have to do that, is what you have to learn, right? So now let me give you a small example. A spare tire. So, what do I mean by that? A spare tire, for example, if the speaker of English language or any speaker for that reason, like he or she uses this expression, a spare tire, then what is that? It's like, it conveys a sort of obesity, right? Somebody who is very obese, right? So instead of saying that this person is very much obese or is like fat and all, like it need not be a spare tire, right? Okay, additional fat that you really welcome, right? A group of words established by usage as having a meaning not deducible from those of the individual words. So a group of words established by usage as having meaning not deducible from those of the individuals. So it's all like how you derive the meaning according to its usage, but not really possible deducible from those of the individual type of words. And also they're a kind of figurative language. So they are a kind of figurative language where you can use them and try to understand the idioms in context. So that means instead of saying you are so much, it's like, you're a couch potato. So that's like instead of saying you are very, lazy or lethargic, or it's like feeling very difficult to move. So what you are directly saying is that, so you are so lazy. So instead of saying that, to simplify, you can simply say that you're a couch potato. You're a couch potato. So that is how you can understand. Next, idioms are a type of figurative language, which means they are not always meant to be taken literally. So the literal spare tire, you are not here to understand about the tire, okay? Or you're not here to talk about whether it is spare or whether it is in use or like whatever it is. So it is all about it is all about the kind of excessive fat that you really deposit, right? So that is a sense of it, right? And the meaning is indirectly conveyed, right? So the meaning is indirectly conveyed, the meaning is indirectly involved. So figuratively, you are using that. Next, I lost my head completely. For example, I lost my head completely. So as an idiom, so what do you mean by it? Like, for example, if you say, I lost my head completely, I got very angry. That means I lost my temper and I became ill-tempered. I became bad-tempered. So that means I lost this is what the sense I have told you in the previous slides. So when I say that, I lost it's not about the literal meaning. It's all about the figurative meaning. When I lost my head, when I convey that, not losing my head literally, but it's just like you lost your temper, or it's just like you become all of a sudden like ill-tempered rich, for example. So that is the sense of it. I really got angry, while literally means something very different. So not losing head, but just losing your temper. Next, and students or many listeners, they think that these are the hardest parts of learning a language. These are the hardest parts of learning a language. So you have to understand the sense that you cannot, it's like you cannot simply think about the literal and physical meaning and you can use them at at your convenience. But all that you have to know is, you have to know the context, you have to know the idiomatic usage, you have to know its figurative language. So how they can be used, right? So that is how you are doing it. So you have to realize that it is not so easy to communicate, to use, right? Next, if you translate an idiom word for word, it sometimes make no sense at all. So you are not taking word for word a meaning, but figuratively, in totality, and the meaning in its context. So you have to know the idiomatic expression by its usage. You have to know it. You have to be aware of the sense. You have to be aware of the context, and that's how you can really bring out this kind of great stuff with the usage of idiomatic expressions. Next, they are like puzzles. And even native speakers can get confused when someone uses a phrase that they've never heard of. My dear learners, you can really make or mar an impression. Like you can make or mar. That means you can spoil your image, or you can really make a very good impression. How is it possible? For example, you have an encounter with the foreign speaker at some point of time, and where he has never heard of the expression which you will be using it. So for him, so he feels that, oh my God, from where this person uses this, is bringing out this kind of stuff. So that means like not every native speaker will be able to master or will be able to learn all the idiomatic expressions that are useful or that exist in the English language. So it's not possible. But then you can say, how is that possible to learn all? Or if it's not possible to learn all, what can we do? So what you can do is try to learn the maximum. Try to learn the maximum. Very popular, very famous, and that are in very much use, right? Next, they are like puzzles, and even native speakers can get confused. That is the sense of the slide that I've put up here. So that's why now it is in your hands how you are willing, or whether you are ready to learn idiomatic expression so quickly, and then bring to you. So in different contexts, you can use different idiomatic expressions. Get your act together. Get your act together. What is the meaning of it? So it means you need to improve your behavioral work. Get your act together means you need to improve your behavior or work or any sort of the improvement that you're suggesting. So it's in the sense like correction is possible, and it's kind of suggestion. So I say, my friend, please get your act together, which means I say you need to improve your behavior. You need to improve your work, right? So if your friend is being mean or nasty for no reason, if your friend is being mean or nasty for no reason, then you can tell them that they need to get their act together. So to tell them that they need to get their act together. So you can use this nice expression. For example, if your friend is not very much, in good use, like whatever language that the person is coming up with, right? Or like she or he needs some kind of subtle improvement. So you can suggest that person, like, please pull yourself back together. So to become calm, to be cool, and please correct, or please settle yourself. Do not get upset, or don't get shocked, or do not be overwhelmed, or sort of any sort of emotion that is over in use, right? So you can say, pull yourself together. Next, so that means, and like you cannot say some person dies, and like you cannot say get your act together. So that is not meaningfully used in the context. So and it is impolite way of telling someone that they're overreacting. and that they need to relax. So kind of like you cannot take that, extract the sense in the in a very what is that you say, like in a very positive manner, but then like it is kind of like you are overreacting and using over than that, right? So it's not going to be at all useful. So this gives a sort of negative connotation, right? Next, so you cannot say that if your friend tells you that their close relative has died, it's not the time to tell them to pull themselves together. So my dear learners, try to know the situation, try to know the context, and be ready to use them. Please do not use like an out of context. So in that way, instead of creating a very good impression, you'll be creating a very bad impression, or you'll be giving a very bad picture about yourself. So that is what you need to say, right? And when you say, I'm feeling under the weather, so there is another expression like you're feeling under the weather. That means you're sick. It's not about the literal meaning, but it is all about the figurative meaning. So if your English teacher asks you, for example, you haven't done why you haven't done your homework, or he or she is more likely to forgive, right? Like, and you know that if she like she would be like easily forgiving, or she'll be easily accepting, then you should be saying that. It's like you cannot say that, oh, I'm feeling under weather, if you are not sick. And but and she's easily forgiving, and that it is appropriate to use that idiomatic expression. You can use the expression like that, I'm not feeling under the weather. So that is a sense, that means I'm ill. Okay, so this kind of ailment is there, and that is why I cannot perform or any task that you assign to. So you can use this idiomatic expression. And a very popular idiomatic expression. So what is that? It's a popular idiomatic expression is, it's a piece of cake, right? So that is in very much use. So when I say it's a piece of cake, meaning it is easy. So it is like it's just like a pinch of salt also, right? It's a piece of cake. That means it is dead easy. Ball is in your court. Ball is in your court. That means it is up to you to make the next decision or step, right? So when I say, now I've discussed everything, and you need to make certain decisions, right? So when I mean it, so you can say, now the ball is in your court, and it is up to you to make your next decision or take any step, right? So that is a sense of it. You can really come up with that kind of idiomatic expressions for you to use them. Next, beat around the bush. So now you've learned three. It's a piece of cake, ball is in your coat, and now the third one is beat around the bush. So beat around, very often you say, many speakers or many teachers, you start talking about one particular topic, and instead of coming to the point, you keep on saying like, you keep give a lot of kind of like roundabout expressions without really talking about the sense, or without really talking about this the point, right? So in that context, you can say, please don't beat around the bush. That means don't talk unnecessary things. So come straight to the point. So that is the sense conveyed. Beat around the bush is the sense. Next, another idiomatic expressions you can use in your conversation is like, you can say like, when there is heavy downpour of rain, right? So it's like heavily pouring. So in that means it is raining, right? So in that context, you will be telling that it's raining cats and dogs. It's raining cats and dogs. That means it is heavily raining. So that means you don't say it's raining cat and dog. right? So you can say that it is raining or it's raining. Cats and dogs. So you can use this marvelous expression. So that will really enrich your English language, or it will enrich your language, I say, my dear students or my dear listeners, whoever you are. Try to add on these idioms to your conversation and see the miracle of using it, or see what happens after you use these idiomatic expressions. So you feel so confident of using English language. You feel so much convinced that you've used good stuff of language, and you feel so great, or you feel so good that you are able to use great amount of English language. So that is very nice way of communicating with others. So I now say that. So I expect all of you to use these idiomatic expressions. And some more, some more expressions that I want to bring to your notice. There's no way they'll be playing at the park. There's no way they'll be playing at the park. It's raining, cats and dogs are there. This is the example sentence. It's of previous sentence. So for example, you can say, like, if you're not, it's like if you're not ready to use, say for example, like if you're not in position to use this cats and dogs expression, so how to use it? So you can put it in this way. There's no way they'll be playing in the park. It's raining, cats and dogs out there. So that is a sense, right? Next phrasal verb is like on cloud nine. On cloud nine. That means to be extremely happy. To be on cloud nine means extremely happy. That is, the grandmother was on extremely happy in the sense. For example, the grandmother was on cloud nine to see her grandson after a long time. And it is a great remark, for example. Okay, so it's a great remark where you can express your kind of excitement, happiness, and so on. So when you have this kind of excitement and happiness, so you are in so much enthralled and so much excited, and say that, oh, it's like, I'm in a very good mood, and because of something that has happened. So in that context, you can say, oh, she's on cloud nine, because after a long time, really, after many years, she's come and she is on cloud nine. So she could meet her grandson, so for which she is on cloud nine. So extremely happy and extremely joyful. So that is a sense you can use it. Next, left out in the cold. Left out in the cold. So that means really leaving someone in the cold? No, it's not at all word for word meaning. The sense that is conveyed here is that you are being ignored. You are being ignored. That means like left out. That means like you are not given appropriate focus. You are not given appropriate importance. You are not given appropriate a kind of like respect and treatment. So that is a sense. Left out in the cold is like being ignored. So that is a sense. You have to make sure you stand out in a company, or you might be left in the cold when it comes time to hand out promotions. So this is a example sentence, you can say. You have to make sure you stand out in a company, or you might be left in the cold, or when it comes, okay? So to hand out promotions. So that means you're completely disregarded. So you're not given importance, and that's like you are left out. So that is the sense of it. Next, eat like a horse. So eat like a horse in the sense like eating too excessively. So this is bit semi-informal, or the kind of like semi-formal, not completely formal or completely informal, but you can say that. So she's eating like a horse. That means eating too excessively, eating too much. So you can use that in a very semi-formal, which is not a completely, it's like not completely formal sense, right? So in that way, Kim is staying for dinner and she eats like a horse. So you better make some extra food. Kim is staying for dinner She eats like a horse. So you would better make some extra food. So that is the sense of it. You can definitely use this, but to your pals, but then not in a very formal condition or a situation. Next, and this is also very famous idiomatic expressions where you say many times, please don't cry over spilt milk. That means not to get upset over something that cannot be fixed. That means it's always useless. Okay, it is useless, and that's something which you cannot fix. And when you say, please calm down, you're just crying over spilt milk. So that means like unnecessarily don't waste your time on something which you cannot fix it. So that is the sense of it, right? So you can definitely come out and say that you please do not waste your time over this kind of this kind of issue that which you cannot fix it altogether. So and it is a waste of time and waste of energy, waste of money. So anyway, this is ruined, or anyway, this has happened, and you cannot do that. Next, another expression: every cloud has a silver lining. So what does mean? Like what does it mean? Like what does that say? So when you say that every cloud has a silver lining, that means every negative situation has the potential to result in or produce something positive or beneficial, right? So every negative situation has the potential to result in or produce something that is positive or beneficial. That means a silver lining on a cloud is an indication that the sun is behind. That means if not now, you will get an opportunity. If not now, next time you'll get opportunity. So that is a sense of it. Every negative situation has the potential to result in and to produce something positive or beneficial. So every negative situation has something like it's like has potential to result in. For example, good something out of bad. Like you have to do something, and out of that only you'll be able to get it. So that means like maybe it appears to be very negative, but the positive result will be very positive. Like the outcome will be very positive. So some kind of gain can happen, or some kind of good, some kind of good will happen definitely, even in a very tough situation. So that is a sense of it. So for example, you can say, when I'm going through a hard time, I try to remind myself that every cloud has a silver line. So for example, that means like, yes, I'm going through a very tough phase, and then meanwhile you say that I try to remind myself that every cloud, so it's okay, do not feel bad, and even if this situation is worse, or even if this situation is adverse, I can always feel that there is always good that is coming up, so I might get a very good opportunity later. So that is the sense of it. Next, fish out of water. So fish out of water is another expression you can use. So that means one who does not feel comfortable in a new environment. So it's like you are used to staying in some place, or you are used to some place where you can do that, and that's when you say, and then suddenly you're removed out of that place, or some like suddenly like you're pulled out of the situation. So what will you do? So you do it, and you do not feel comfortable in a very a new place or a new environment, so you feel so suffocated. Okay, so you feel it, oh, I feel so suffocating, and I say that's like I cannot survive, so I'm so much used to that particular situation, and that is why I cannot survive. So in that context, you can use this idiomatic expression, fish out of water. Fish out of water. That means one who does not feel comfortable in a new environment. So that is the sense. You can say, oh, I was in this department or compartment all these years, and suddenly they asked me to shift to another department, and I feel so, it's like, my condition is like fish out of water. So I feel so restless and I'm not very much comfortable. So that is the sense of it. When Kala transferred to a new school, she felt like a fish out of water because she didn't know anyone there. She didn't know anyone there. So that is why she felt it very uncomfortable. Next slide. Right. So take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt is another idiomatic expression. It's a nice expression you can use. If someone provides information, they might say, take it with a grain of salt. Right? That afterwards, which they are unsure if the information is accurate or not. And for example, they are very unsure. In other words, what they said might be unreliable, where you cannot depend solely on that. So don't take it seriously. Take it with a grain of salt. Almost like take it with a pinch of salt. That means like you are not very sure and something unsure and it's not very certain, and it is like you don't linger it with. And so that is why I say, and which is not for sure and which you all do not have any guarantee and which is highly unreliable. So you need not take it very seriously. So you can say that you can take it with a grain of salt. So that is expression you can use it. Next, like a cakewalk. What is that? Like a cakewalk? That means so easy task. So that is something very easy. So everyone took hours to write the code, but Adam did it like a cakewalk. So the code or the task is very difficult, but then that particular person or another person, he comes and he does that with, it does it like a cakewalk. So that means like he takes it very easily, and for him it's not at all difficult, but it is very lively and it is very easy. So you can use this expressions. Next, and another famous expression, idiomatic expressions, and very commonly used, and very general in nature. In many contexts, you say, and ignorance is bliss, or ignorance is blissful, you can say. So what is the meaning of it? That means I do not know particular matter, which is something very dangerous, or something that gives me trouble, or something that spoils my mind, and something that is not very important, and that is something which will ruin your reputation, or whatever it is. And if you are highly aware of that, and you are untouched by the evil thoughts of that, and you say, oh, good that I do not know about it. So, and I'm blessed, a kind of feeling like you have it. So it is bliss, that is extremely happy or joyful, and that because you do not know about it. So it is better to remain unaware or ignorant of the things that they may otherwise cause one's stress, right? Okay, so that is like, it is better if you are not into it and you are completely ignorant it. So example I can give you is, sometimes I just decide to ignore the news for a few days, and I feel ignorance is bliss. So I tell you. So this is a context where you can use. So and also you can say like, oh my God, like I am saved, like I'm not at all aware of the fraud that's going to happen. Had it been, had that person come and told me everything about it, so I would have been charged definitely. Good that ignorance is blissful. I'm completely unaware of it. So that is a sense created. Next, call it a day. Call it a day. That means stop working on something. That means you've decided to stop, a meeting or whatever it is, like that you are continuing. So you can say stop working. For example, like you want to stop that and you are not going to continue that. So in that sense, like call it a day. That means stop working on something. What we didn't complete the puzzle today. Let's call it a day and come back again tomorrow. That means we are not going to continue further and we will stop here. Or I can say today I'm taking up the class and I'm unable to continue, and I say I will call it a day today. Okay, I will call it a day. That means I will stop. Or for suddenly somebody is speaking in the seminar, and suddenly he says and say, let's call it a day. So that means like we will stop it and we will continue thereafter. So that is a sense. So you can say like, let's call it a day and come back again tomorrow. So stopping there and not continuing continuously. Another idiomatic expressions where you can use another a very interesting idiomatic expression is at the 11th hour. At the 11th hour. That means at the last moment. At the last moment. That means almost the time is over. You are running short of it. And you say, while leaving for Shimla, Harshit kept his mobile phone charger in the bag at the 11th hour. That means it's almost the time is over and he kept it in the last hour. So that is a sense of it. While leaving for Shimla, Harshit kept his mobile and phone charger in the bag at the 11th hour. So that is a sense of it. That means like almost the time is over and there is no time left out. And you can say that almost in the last minute he's done that. And also I can say, I always say to my students that please don't submit your assignments. Okay. So at the 11th hour, that means don't do it at the last moment. You will run out of time and the quality is wasted. The quality will be lost. Okay. The kind of amount of hard work you invest in that particular thing will be wasted if you hurry up and join some more and make some alterations at the last hour. So at the 11th hour. So the last moment, please do not hurry it. So that is the sense. So while leaving for Shimla, Harshit kept his mobile phone charger in the bag at the 11th hour. Next, another useful expressions, right? To bell the cat. To bell the cat. So when I say, for example, now I've explained you everything totally, right? I've explained you completely. And now it is, it is up to you now. Like you have to bell the cat. That means you have to face a risk. So he belled the cat when he was trying to escape the prison. That means like he had to enter, or he had to face a risk in order to escape from that particular thing. So to bell the cat is something that like facing risk or facing unfavorable situation. So you can say to bell the cat. That means to face a risk. Next, turn a deaf ear. Turn a deaf ear. That means to ignore what someone is saying. To ignore what someone is saying. You turn a deaf ear. That means like, you ignore it, right? You ignore it. So that is what, like he turned deaf ear to me. That meant like he was not really taking seriously, or he was not, taking things very seriously. And that is why I can use turn a deaf ear. Next, and the like example I can give you is like whenever her mother complained of her excessive use of mobile phone, Anu turned a deaf ear. Anu turned a deaf ear. So whenever her mother complained of her excessive use of, like that means she ignores all the time. She doesn't pay attention to. She doesn't pay heed to what her mother said. So that is why it says, turning a deaf ear or turned a deaf ear. Next, another idiomatic expressions you can use it like stab someone in the back. Stab someone in the back. That means like you're being unfaithful. Like to betray a close person. To betray a close person. My uncle trusted his driver so much, but he stabbed at the back when he saw all the money bags. That means, for example, like he trusted his driver so much, but his driver was so unfaithful. He was not sincere. He was unfaithful. And so he stole, or he was unfaithful and he did some kind of act that really left very kind of like loss, or it created a great pain in their hearts. So that is stab someone in the back. That means like you trust someone, but they don't come before you. That means they don't act before you, but they go behind and they will betray you. That means they will be unfaithful. That is the sense of it. Okay, so another expression that I have it for you is like facing the music, or face the music, which means face the reality. I say that means you have to face the reality. When I say Shika asked her husband to not run away from the problem, just to face the reality. That means like when I say, now I have told you the consequences that might happen, or I told you, I warned you the futuristic problems. But I say, now it is up to you to face the music. When I say that, that means to face the reality, to face the music. That is a sense of it. Next, to have sticky fingers. To have sticky fingers in the sense, that means kind of, want to steal, that kind of instinct. The cashier had a sticky finger. He stole around 10,000 rupees and ran away from the bank. Kind of sticky fingers is like, having that sense, or like having that nature for stealing or taking away things. That is the meaning of it. Next, cry for the moon. Cry for the moon means to ask something that is rather difficult. To ask for something that is rather difficult. You are crying and trying for the moon for this concert tickets. That means it is too difficult, but you are asking for that. It is something which is very high and you expect that to be done. So that is to cry for the moon. That is something unreachable, or it is difficult to reach. So these are the expressions, or these are the idiomatic expressions you can use in your day-to-day conversation to enrich, to understand your, importance in society. So add all these idiomatic expressions for your betterment. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.